Estamos en vivo. Hola, hola, buenas noches. Muchas gracias por venir y ver este video. Thank you all for joining and watching this video. El primer video en vivo, the first live stream video for Spanish Blueprints. Me llamo Josue. My name is Joshua. And today I'm going to be talking about my experience doing the 30-day Record Yourself Challenge. But before we get into that, let me just introduce myself. So my name is Joshua. Me llamo Josue. I've been learning Spanish for about, let me do math here, 12 years, 10 years, since I was 13. Yeah, so about 13 years now. I would count 12, but I didn't really don't really remember anything when I was 12 years old. So I was gonna start with 13 years old because I remember basically everything from that class, all the activities that we did, and et cetera, et cetera. Then after that, I started to learn Spanish within my classes in high school. Then I ended up actually quitting my classes because I thought it was too hard. Then college came around, and then I had to take more Spanish classes because it was an obligation. We had to do that to graduate. So I was forced to take Spanish. Well, I wasn't forced to take Spanish. I was forced to take whichever language that I wanted. So since I had the background already from a few years back, I decided to take Spanish. Then after that, I decided to continue to speak Spanish and continue to learn Spanish on my own after I graduated from college, just because I started to have a lot more passion with the language. I tried to get more into the Spanish culture, Latino culture. So that's really where it started to, or my passion came from, was when I started to branch out and learn on my own. So let's get on with what we're all going to learn today. We're going to be learning my overall experience during this challenge, how I was feeling, what I was thinking, and just overall what I learned. What is a challenge and its value? The mentality of a language learner, I think that's very important. So, how do we think? What are the ups and downs that we go to? What are the different things that we're facing? What are the different skills that we need? So all of those roll under having that mentality of a language learner. As well, my study strategy tips for speaking Spanish, and also how do you analyze yourself when you're speaking Spanish, because that's also very important, so you're able to see what is your progress and know where you're at. And then finally, I'll be sharing some of the errors that I made as well. And then, if you have any comments or questions, you can just leave that in the comments section. So what is the 30-day Record Yourself Challenge? The 30-day Record Yourself Challenge is where you would basically answer one question a day in Spanish completely for 1 minute long. And there's going to be a whole bunch of different topics that you're able to choose from. And you can find instructions for this on the Spanish Blueprints website. And as well, I have a video that explains the process of doing this challenge, which is called How to Speak Spanish Better in 30 Days, the Language Learning Challenge video. As well, so I actually did this last year, and I should know, not last year, in 2020. And I didn't complete it. I did 28 days instead of 30, so that was a little embarrassing after thinking about it. I don't know why I didn't just do 2 days. So that has to do a lot with my patience and just my overall desire. As you can see, just wasn't really there. I didn't really care about doing that challenge. I wasn't really thinking about what are the different advantages of doing a challenge like this. So, at least I did get 28 days, so I'm happy I did that. I was able to have that experience and able to have like kind of preset answers for questions for that time being, at least. I was able to kind of measure where I was at that point. And then as well, I actually submitted these questions, or posted them rather, my recordings to them on Hello Talk, which is just like an application where you're able to. It's like a what would you call it? Like an exchange application. So we're able to talk with people from all over the world in different languages. You're able to post whatever you want on your profile. Then people can comment on it. They can like it. They can correct your messages as well. So like if you put a message in there, then you're able to correct that actual message right on it. So that's pretty cool. And see the different mistakes that you have when you're talking to different people. So yeah, that was pretty interesting experience. So now I wanted to basically give another crack at it just because, I didn't finish the challenge. So now I had the opportunity to do that again because you're able to do this challenge whenever you want. So I found a lot of value in it. Now, what is the value that you are able to get from this challenge? You'll be able to develop a lot of consistency and discipline skills because there were a lot of nights where I really did not feel like finishing this challenge whatsoever. Like, I'm not even joking. There was some nights it was, pretty late and I let this challenge be like the last thing that was a part, or like the last on the list for my Spanish studies. And I was just like, I don't really feel like doing it tonight. But, the fact that I publicly posted, on YouTube that I was going to do this challenge, that really motivated me to complete it, even though, I felt like that. I didn't feel like doing the challenge whatsoever. Some nights I just lacked the motivation. So that helped me out a lot. And then as well, my goal of wanting to speak Spanish better as well, that helped me because, that has been a very big goal of mine for the past few years, and especially this year. So I knew that this challenge was going to help me do that. So that is what helped me push through that challenging moment of being tired at 9-10 p.m. at night and having multiple things to do, but I decided just not to do it. Oh, excuse me. I decided to do it instead of not doing it. Another thing you'll be able to learn is how to kind of go at your own pace because you don't need anyone to practice with when you're doing this challenge. You're pretty on your own. So there's no one looking over your shoulder. There's not really anybody around unless you have friends with you when you're doing it, or you have some family that is around that are kind of pushing you to do it. But in my case, I'm here in my apartment. It's just kind of me being my own cheerleader. So that kind of builds that discipline as well and consistency and a lot of determination skills as well because you have to really push yourself and really just get into the habit of studying every single day. As well, you're able to get a crash course in self-analysis. So that's something that I never really realized beforehand. I used to not really do too much analysis for my Spanish studies in general, or even my Spanish skills. So, if I was writing, so this is going to be like after college when I started to learn on my own. I wasn't really thinking about, I should sit down and think about, what study method I just did. And if that, was a good one or if it wasn't a bad one, how can I improve this study session? So that's something that I've definitely accumulated over time, and this specific challenge helps out a ton with this. Another good valuable item for this challenge is that you're going to get a lot of topics. So, there's 30 different questions, so that's 30 different opportunities to talk about different topics with, a Spanish speaker. So I thought that was very valuable as well. You're able to be able to develop a lot of good skills in that way, be more versed in different topics, because I also figured out that I lack a lot of vocabulary in some of them. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, you get to share with your friends and your family as well. I think that's something valuable as you are going through your Spanish learning journey, so you are able to continue to get motivation from other people, because it can be very difficult when it's just you studying and not have any support. So if you share this, with your friends or your family, they can help you stay accountable and make sure that you're doing it every single day. And then also, you learn a lot about managing your time. And that sounds pretty strange, right? Because it's only a 1 minute long challenge. But since this is a certain method of studying, you still have to be able to make time for it. So for me, for example, when I had to figure out what my daily schedule was, and then also figure out what was going to be my Spanish study time. So I could have done this before work in the morning time. I could have done it after work. Could have done it after going to the gym. So you're able to get a good idea of what is the best study time for you as well. Also, one of my this is the last one. This is probably one of my favorite ones. You get to be as creative as you want. So there's a lot of different directions that you can take this 30-day record yourself challenge. That's something that I value a lot, because I actually ended up changing my method of doing it a few times after doing a lot of analysis and figuring out what worked for me and what didn't work for me. So overall, what did I learn? I learned to develop, a lot of good habits, and sacrificing my desire to be lazy. That was something that was, pretty challenging to do. As I was saying beforehand, that there were some nights I didn't want to do it. So, when that is the case, it's actually kind of nice to have a challenge like this. Instead of just having, I have my set amount of tasks that I'm going to do today to study. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to watch Netflix. Because those things can kind of get lost sometimes, or if you're not tracking them. But with this 30-day record yourself challenge, you're it's fairly strict. You have to do this every single day, and you have to do this specific topic. So that's something that helped me a lot to stay focused with my studies. Is when I'm at work or when I'm at the gym, I'm just like, oh, I need to go home right now. Not go right now, but I need to go home eventually and do this recording. I need to sit down and think about what I'm gonna say, and then record myself and then analyze it so I can increase my Spanish skills. I also realized that I am not as good as I thought I was. So I had, a lot of pride with my Spanish speaking skills, which you should, not knocking that whatsoever. But I had a little bit too much. So when I first started, like the first few days of doing this challenge, I realized that there's a lot of topics that I didn't necessarily know or have any knowledge of. So that was something, that was a big eye opener to me. I thought I was going to be able to to breeze past these questions just because I've done them already in the past. Let's see here. Also, I am not too great at studying when I'm tired. So this is something that's been hard for me to stop doing, because I've built the habit of studying when I'm exhausted through high school and through college. So that's something that I'm trying to stop doing because it's not really helpful whatsoever. If I'm trying to study Spanish, I'm trying to concentrate, but at the same time I'm exhausted. For me personally, it doesn't work. So that helped me realize that I really need to stop doing that, because it's not helpful and I'm wasting time. I'm wasting time studying 30 minutes when I should be studying, for example, for this challenge, maybe 2 minutes. So doing 1 minute of the challenge, or writing a script for 1 minute and then recording myself for 1 minute. But if I'm tired, I'm actually wasting 30 minutes up to an hour just because I can't concentrate. And then when I can't concentrate when I'm studying Spanish, then I end up usually trying to multitask. So like, oh, let me go look at the job interviews, or I might have like 15 tabs open on my computer because I'm too tired. I'm not thinking straight. I'm not focused directly on Spanish anymore because my brain is not working properly, or I get frustrated because I'm not able to study properly, and that's just the fact that I'm not productive whatsoever when I'm like extremely exhausted. So that was definitely a balancing act, where I definitely needed to switch up my study routine, and that's what I ended up doing. So instead of doing it like at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. when I was tired and I didn't want to really do anything else, it was the last item of the day, I changed that to doing it right after work or doing that before going to the gym, because when I'm at the gym, I'm usually pretty pretty exhausted. Then what else? I mean, there's so much I learned. I also figured out that when I'm speaking, I like to have a lot of different ways of saying one different thing. So, for example, for how you're doing in Spanish, you can say, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo te ha ido? And things like that. And that kind of makes it very tricky for me when I'm speaking with someone, because I'm not able to select just one type of way of responding to someone. So I'm thinking of 5 different phrases just to say one thing, and that's been very difficult for me. And then patience is another thing as well. Being patient is very difficult for us language learners learning Spanish, or whatever language, just because we want to learn the language as fast as possible. So I'm day 5 or day 6 of this challenge, and I'm just like, I should be perfectly fluent. I shouldn't be making any errors, or whatever the case may be, and it's just not realistic. So that's just something that you have to be aware of as well. That this is. I like the fact that it is 30 days, because it's going to take a decent amount of time for you to even realize what are the different things that you need to change. For me, it took me a week and a half to realize that I had to change my Spanish study routine to when I wasn't completely exhausted. So that took me a while to figure that out. As well, that it's a long process in general to learn a language. So when you're learning a language, it's going to be already a lifelong process. So once you have that mentality, you're going to be able to be more dedicated and be more persistent. So instead of just saying, all right, I'm going to do 4 days of this record yourself challenge, and I'm going to be speaking perfectly, you're actually going to instead do 30 days of this challenge and say, wow, look at all the progress that I've just made. But there's still room for improvement. I'm going to continue to study. I'm going to continue to increase my Spanish speaking skills beyond this challenge. So as you can see here, there's a complete mentality shift there, from just thinking about the short term benefits of this challenge. I'm going to do a few days and I'm going to be speaking perfectly, to thinking about, hey, there's so much room for improvement. I'm going to be able to use this challenge as a base for me, as a way that's going to propel me into the future to better my speaking skills. So that is something that also helped me out a lot. So now on, how exactly do we measure our progress when we're speaking, just kind of overall with our language learning skills? So in this case, for this specific challenge, we need to record ourselves to be able to be more independent learners. So that's something that you're going to have to do. For example, if you are not taking classes, formal classes, you're not in high school, you're not in college, or whatever the case may be, not taking Spanish classes with someone, you're not having a teacher, you're going to need to be able to have a lot more independence and be able to kind of track your own progress, because there's not always going to be someone in front of you, not all the time. That's going to be, either willing to correct you or that's just going to correct you. And then, so, there's also a good way measuring our progress that we do for ourselves, so we can measure, how accurate we are, our delivery, and our pacing as well. But on the flip side, we aren't always very objective when we're measuring our own progress. So, in this case, it's kind of nice to get outside feedback as well from other people, whether it's, Spanish speakers, or if it's from one of your friends who speaks Spanish, or if it's a teacher or whatever the case may be. And yeah, so this is just a very critical step. It's something that I never done before in the past, really. So I'm really happy. I just started to really sit down, take the time to measure my speaking abilities, measure my language learning abilities on my own, because this Spanish learning journey is our own. We take the reins of it, and we are the ones who are guiding it. We set our goals. We set our own Spanish study routine. So there's a lot that that we're accountable of, and it's really important that that we keep that in mind, that we do need to analyze ourselves, and then also just to keep us motivated. You start to realize after when measuring yourself that a lot of the things that you used to think about aren't the way that they seem. So I used to measure myself with speaking fast as as a measure of how well I'm doing when it comes to speaking Spanish, but obviously it's not the case at all. You don't have to speak Spanish fast to be able to speak it well. So now let's go over the different questions that I asked myself to help me during this progress tracking that I was doing. So these questions help me to give me an overall idea of my performance for myself, and be able to kind of grade myself while I'm doing these different recordings of myself. So the first question is, how do I feel? Am I happy, sad, angry? These emotions, have a very deep impact on your performance, and I deem them very important. Especially if we don't really know how to handle them, or we're just not aware that that we're angry, or if we're stressed out. So having that in mind when I'm doing my study sessions helps me to kind of manage that a little bit better. So if I know that I'm stressed out, then I'm just gonna try to take it easy and not be hard on myself. I know if I'm stressed out and I'm angry, then I'm gonna start kind of actually taking that out on myself. I'm like and start saying things like, oh, you don't speak Spanish very well. You don't even remember any of the Spanish words. Your mind is always blank. How come you don't remember anything? And you kind of just start saying bad things to yourself, but in reality, it's just that you're stressed. Number 2, vocabulary. So that's something that's very valuable to ask, because, well, I'll say personally for me, with this challenge, I want to develop more vocabulary. I want to be able to have deeper conversations. So I need to have this. Always keep this in mind, so I'm able to build my vocabulary and actually use this vocabulary within my recording. So that's something that I was really focusing on. I'm going to, say these 5 new phrases or words that I just started to, or that I just learned this week. And then number 3 is conjugation, because it's, extremely important when you're speaking as well. For telling stories. For telling stories in the past, in the future, in the present, you need to understand how to conjugate the verbs. And then number 4 is pacing. So that would be how fast, how slow that I am speaking Spanish. As well, that can just be on just kind of your overall rhythm. Are you going, up and down, up and down? Hola, ¿cómo estás? That kind of thing. So it is kind of an interesting question now that I think about it. It's not something I would have thought about beforehand. I would always think before that, well, my pacing, is great. I sound amazing in Spanish. Like, I'm Romeo Santos or something. Like I'm always singing in Spanish, but obviously that's, not the case. Number 5 is pronunciation. So, of course, when it comes to speaking a language, you have to be able to pronounce the words correctly, or at least, as, the best that you can so people can understand you. That's something that I always had to work on because I end up, sometimes I like to speak very fast, and it doesn't help with pronunciation because I don't actually say the words correctly. I'm just speaking as fast as possible. Yeah, that's it. Number 6 is the ability to express myself. So I put this on there because this challenge is kind of strange in the way that you're not having a conversation with someone. So you're not having an interview where you're going up to someone and then you're, just asking them the question and then they respond to you. So you're just speaking to yourself, speaking to a camera, or just making an audio recording, and that could be kind of strange. So instead of just saying everything very plainly, am I saying things with a lot of expression? Do I sound very excited? Do I sound happy? Do I sound angry? So just being aware of how I'm expressing myself. Am I showing my personality when I'm answering these questions? And then also, how can I improve is the last one, number 7. How can I improve? That's probably, one of the most important questions, on this list for measuring your Spanish speaking progress, because, we're not just here just to do this challenge and then, forget about it, throw all those recordings in the trash, but we actually want to really develop our Spanish speaking skills. Use this as a base of measurement of where we would like to be in the future, speaking wise. Now let's go to the different mistakes that I was making. So a lot of them actually just had to do with incorrect pronunciations, nouns and adjectives being mixed up, the gerunds, and then the vowels as well. I really need to focus on those. And the genders as well for the nouns. So one example that of one sentence that I said wrong was una organización sin fines de lucro. Oh, sorry, that was the correct one. So una organización sin fines de lucro. But what you should, or what I shouldn't have said was una organización sin fines de lucros. So there is just like I added an S. And the other times when I was speaking too fast, I would repeat the same word. So it's not necessarily like a mistake per se. It's just something that you just probably shouldn't do. So instead of saying, yo voy a hacer la cena, like I'm going to make dinner, I would say yo voy a hacer, because I was speaking so fast, and my mind couldn't keep up with what I was saying. So mostly I needed to do a lot more studying of the grammar, Spanish grammar, to make sure that I was increasing my speaking skills, just because a lot of them I might not remember for a while, just because I'm not studying grammar every single day. Usually I'm either watching Spanish material or I'm talking with a Spanish speaker, so it can definitely just kind of be a loss if I'm not focusing on grammar sometimes, because then I'm only speaking what I know, and when I'm speaking, at the level that I'm at, it could be, wrong for many different reasons, like the ones I'm talking about right now. Next one is hace muy frío, but the correct version should be hace mucho frío. So that's something that I forgot just because I haven't studied weather vocabulary and phrases for a long time. And that was also a question that's very difficult for me, even for like a simple sentence, because I don't talk about weather with people like that, or climate and things like that. Then these are ones right now. I got feedback from other people, so I actually did post this on Reddit, and then I got feedback from Spanish speakers. So one of them was die instead of dia. So that has to do with the vowel sounds. I did die instead of dia plus the accent. So I said dia instead of dia. And then also with H's too. I keep forgetting that the H is silent in Spanish. So I keep saying things like hecho instead of hecho, and hispanohablante instead of hispanohablante, and things like that. So that's something to be aware of as well. It's a very simple grammar rule, but it actually makes a huge difference. So like the same thing with the word hola. So it's not hola, but it's hola. I can still understand, you if you say that, the Spanish speaker to be able to understand what you're saying. But it's just something that's going to improve your Spanish so much more, your pronunciation so much more, if you just eliminate that H sound. Then I also noticed that I was kind of mixing letters together. I wasn't saying everything correctly. For example, I was saying traductores. Traductores instead of traductores. So that has a lot to do with the different pronunciation, grammar rules, that there are. And then also just me kind of being lazy because I didn't feel like always pronouncing things correctly, because it actually takes work to say things correctly and to pronounce every word, and pronounce every letter, especially for English speakers, because our mouth isn't necessarily used to how the Spanish vowels are and how the Spanish words are. So we need to be very expressive and moving our mouths when we are speaking Spanish. So instead of just doing like this, hola, ¿cómo estás? It's gonna be more like hola, ¿cómo estás? So there I'm able to actually pronounce every letter more strongly, and you're actually able to hear, like the accent marks as well. Another word that I mixed up was visualización. I think I just said it wrong again, but that was kind of difficult as well. La visualización. So like this is one of those cases where it's a lot of syllables, and you can definitely get them mixed up. But in Spanish, again, you just kind of have to pronounce every single letter and make sure that you know how the vowels sound. So la visualización. So it makes it pretty straightforward, thankfully, in Spanish, rather than English. Sometimes the letters don't sound how like they should. Another one was, I said estuvieron muchas barreras, but instead of saying that, I should have said habían barreras. There were barriers, but estuvieron, you can't really say that. That's a location-based verb, but instead that's more of kind of like where you are, but not where like a thing is. So the verb haber is what you would use for like an actual object. So había mucho tráfico, there was a lot of traffic. And you wouldn't say like estuvo mucho tráfico. And then another word that I was being very lazy with was trilingüe. So I was saying trilingue. Like, do you see or do you hear how different that those sounds are? Trilingue versus trilingüe. So those are definitely some things to annotate, take some notes about. Then also the gerunds as well for describing hobbies. Someone had to kind of remind me of this, I forgot. So you should be saying the infinitive form of the verb. So one phrase or one sentence I was saying was, me gusta mucho montar en bicicleta, hacer yoga y jugar videojuegos. But I was saying, me gusta mucho montando en bicicleta, haciendo yoga y jugando videojuegos. And in this case, you just have to use the infinitive form instead of doing that. And then some other vowel words that I was saying incorrectly were constantemente, instead of constantemente. And then as well, let's see here, instead of oportunidad. I was saying oportunidad, so opportunity in Spanish is oportunidad, but I was saying oportunidad. So, a lot more using the English vowels and the English grammar versus the Spanish way of doing it using the Spanish vowels. So it makes a very big difference. All you have to do is just change it just a little bit, and you can sound a lot more native, and you can be speaking a lot better. So, just a little change. Oportunidad versus oportunidad. Then I also, this one's very big for Spanish learners as well, the difference between estar and ser. So that's something that I need to definitely keep track of as well. And then in Spanish, S and Z have the same exact sound, and I kind of forgot that. So it should all just be S instead of like Z. So have the same sound, that sound. Now, so what are some different tips that I would give you for when you're doing this challenge to increase your speaking skills? One is to always leave the most intensive study session for when you are most productive. So in this case, this challenge was very intensive for me because I actually did really want to make sure that I was increasing my vocabulary. So I actually, took the time. It wasn't just 1 minute of recording. It was about, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes of researching new vocabulary that I wanted to include within my recording itself. So this was, a form that you can, or a method of studying that you can include while you're doing this challenge. So instead of doing just a spontaneous video of yourself, you can actually, do an actual script, figure out what are the specific words that you want to use, and then record yourself. Second tip, I want you to actually rewatch these videos because that's a very important step so you're able to measure your progress. So, use those different progress tracking questions that I gave you earlier, about your pacing, how you feel, your pronunciation, vocabulary, and those are extremely important that I would not skip out on because they're really going to give you a good picture of where you're at with your Spanish skills, what is your Spanish level, and it just helps you to stay focused on what's important. So instead of me earlier, I was just thinking about, I need to speak as fast as possible. Well, now I know that to speak Spanish a little bit better, I just need to actually focus on the vowels of Spanish. I need to start memorizing how the sounds of the different letters of the alphabet, and that's going to actually increase my Spanish skills instead of just trying to speak fast all the time, because that doesn't really do anything. I mean, it does sound kind of cool, and it does help with fluency as far as being able to, I would say, just kind of keep up a conversation. It kind of proves that you are able to speak Spanish, but at the same time, if you're saying everything incorrectly while you're speaking as fast as possible, then that's kind of hurting you. So you just have to find that balance. And it all depends on your goals. Like I said, if that's something that you want to do, just let loose and speak as fast as you can. Then you can definitely do that because depends on what you're trying to focus on. I'm just trying to focus on having a conversation with the Spanish speaker and not think about anything else. For me, I'm shifting from that method to more of actually trying to increase my vocabulary, increase my pronunciation, because I know I'm making a decent amount of errors that are pretty simple to change and to fix. And then once I fix these, then Spanish speakers will be able to, I think, understand me a little bit better as well. And it's also going to increase my confidence too. And then also, make the challenge your own based off your goals. So kind of like I was just saying. So, you can make a script. You can not make a script if you don't want to, or you can just have a spontaneous response to the questions. You look at the question for, 10 seconds, and then you record yourself. And then this method is just, you want to see where you're at. You want to be able to see if you can actually have, like a 1 minute conversation about one topic with a Spanish speaker. So that's something that is very important. That you keep in mind when you're doing this challenge, is that you can really make it your own. You can be as creative as you want to be, and that's something that I did too. I changed my method of how I was doing it beforehand. And then another tip that I have for you all is if you tend to use words like cosa, lugar, and lejos or muy, try replacing those words with something that's a little bit more descriptive. Because if you're just saying mira a esta cosa, obviously this sentence is correct. Someone can definitely understand what you're saying, but it's really nice if you start replacing cosa with more nouns. So if you're talking about a building or something like that, then you can say mira este edificio. Because beforehand, I used to do that a lot. It is one form of studying Spanish, is that you just explain exactly what what you can. So I used to say things like, or if I was describing a boat, for example, I would say, mira esta cosa que está, mira esta cosa que está. Oh, thanks a lot for coming. Appreciate you coming. And mira esta cosa que está flotando en el agua. So that's in English, look at this thing that is floating in the water. But instead of saying that, I can just say, once I actually know what that word is, what that noun is, I can say, mira este barco flotando en el agua. So for me, that just makes me a little bit more happier that I can, actually use more nouns instead of just kind of describing things that are a little bit harder to understand. And then, like I was saying beforehand, don't be lazy when you're pronouncing words, because that's kind of going to bite you in the butt a little bit. And then now my overall tips for increasing your Spanish skills. I have speak every single day. So that is what this challenge is really good at, doing, of course, because that's the, main focus. To increase your Spanish speaking skills, you need to speak. So like the same thing with, reading or writing. If you want to develop those areas, you have to read and you have to write. And speaking is probably one of the most difficult things besides, hearing. But hearing, you just kind of have to stand there. Like, you're not really going to be nervous to, just to stand and listen to someone. But if you have to speak with a Spanish speaker, that is extremely difficult for Spanish learners. And, a lot of times you might shy away from a conversation just because you don't know what to say. But now with this challenge, you can have, 30 different topics already, memorized. or practice that you can have a discussion with a Spanish speaker. So that's something that that I've enjoyed a lot. I've enjoyed a lot with this challenge is that I have a lot more vocabulary that I'm able to use just because I actually put the time in for my recordings and my script writing, and I included new vocabulary in those scripts so I can be able to say those in a conversation. One of them I really need to work on is the weather, because for whatever reason, and like climate stuff, I don't remember the grammar because the grammar is pretty difficult. It's weird. So, like for right now, if right now it's cold outside, so I'm gonna say, I say frío, like it makes cold. So like that grammar structure, that word structure is just so strange to me. Still, even after studying Spanish, so it's something that I need to get accustomed to is changing my mind over from English to Spanish. So that's why I consume as much Spanish material as possible, and I try to think in Spanish throughout the day as well. So I'm always maintaining that Spanish mentality and the Spanish phraseology as well. And then the next Spanish speaking tip that I have for you is to review the alphabet and the vowels. It seems very basic, but I'm telling you, you should at least do it like once a week, because I always say things wrong just for the very fact that I forgot how a vowel sounds, or I forgot how a letter sounds. My favorite word in Spanish is la colocación, so that's like the placement of something. Thanks for asking that question. But in reality, I have a lot of favorite questions, or a lot of favorite words and phrases in Spanish, but that one is pretty fun to say. La colocación. Let's see here. The next one that I have, I just forgot the one I was just saying, is, oh yeah, revising the alphabet. So yeah, that's very important. So the word that I used beforehand that I said incorrectly in one of my recordings was oportunidad. So that's wrong. That's correct. The wrong one I was saying was oportunidad, which it doesn't really sound correct. Spanish is oportunidad. All I had to do was focus on that first letter, which is O, and how that sounds in Spanish, and then voila, your word sounds so much better, your sentence already sounds so much better just by changing one letter within your phrase. The next tip I have for you for your Spanish speaking skills while you're speaking in a conversation is to stop being afraid to make mistakes. So this is something that we struggle a lot with as Spanish learners. It prevents us from having conversations, for even thinking about having a conversation with a Spanish speaker, right? So, I don't want to have a conversation, with this person in the store because I'm going to say everything wrong. They're not going to understand me, right? Or, I've said this many times as well. I can't do this yet because I don't know this. I don't know how to say this properly. But the truth is, they're gonna be able to understand you. The best that they can. More than likely, they're gonna be able to understand you, and you're just being too hard on yourself. Is usually the fact. So you can, even if you don't know how to pronounce everything correctly, that's not gonna be an issue. So if you say hola instead of hola, right? They're gonna be able to understand you just fine. Or you can, there's so many different ways to break the language barrier. You just have to figure it out, and you have to be able to resolve these these issues when you are speaking Spanish. So that's not an excuse to use to avoid communication, because for example, if you're speaking, your native tongue, like for me, if I'm speaking English, I've made a few mistakes already during this live stream, right? But I'm still able to communicate with you, or I'm trying my best to correct myself while I'm speaking, or I'm trying to find a method or trying to find a way to get my message across, whether that's with my hands, whether it's like pointing at something, whatever the case may be. So, I've done that a lot, in Spanish, when it comes to learning new vocabulary. Let's say you're learning vocabulary about the bank, when you're in the bank, but you don't know how to explain what what do you call that thing? I'm blanking out. Let's just say like checks. You don't know what a check is, but you can, somehow use your, hand gestures while you're explaining it. Como que un papel, yo necesito escribir para recibir dinero. So that's like, oh, I need a paper so I can write it down how much I need to, or how much money that I would like to have. So as you can see, like it doesn't have to even make sense in English or too much in Spanish. It can be extremely choppy, but you can still get your message across. That's the same thing. In other situations I've had where I was able to write down what I wanted to say if I didn't know how to say it properly, or if I just didn't have all the words in my head at the time. So I just write it down on a piece of paper what I was trying to say, or like draw a picture, and then you just show it to somebody, and then boom, they're able to understand it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go at when it comes to breaking down that language barrier and speaking Spanish. But the first thing that you need to do is actually speak. You need to speak Spanish as much as possible, and not not go back to English just because you have a fear of making mistakes. Is just it's not going to help you, and it really hurts you overall. And it can really drive down your discipline. It can drive down your I'll just say your overall language skills. So if I keep saying to myself, I can't have this conversation, then you're turning down a lot of opportunities to actually study. So if I'm having a conversation with someone in Spanish, I'm learning how to listen. I'm learning how to speak. I'm learning how to communicate with another person in a different language. So I like to look at it in this way, where I am, there's a lot of different things or a lot of different opportunities that, you can lose just from having that mentality. So that goes to, what is the mentality of a language learner, and that's one of those things is that a big hurdle that we face that we need to get over. Let's see here. Including words, don't dislike. Yeah, another one is actually don't dislike the way that you sound. So this is it's kind of a funny one, but it's something that I've also kind of talked badly about. When I first started making these YouTube videos, and I heard myself speaking Spanish, I was like, oh, I hate the way that that I sound. I sound so weird. And that made me more reserved. I'm like, I probably shouldn't make any more videos anymore. I don't sound right. I just, I sound really weird, but, that's not really an excuse. Again, same thing with this 30-day record yourself challenge. You hear yourself, and that's the, only thing that you're focusing on is, oh, wow, why do I sound like that? You're not actually, you're not measuring your Spanish speaking progress on your pacing, on your vocabulary, on your pronunciation, on your ability to express yourself. But one thing that you're focusing on is, oh, why do I sound like that? As you can see, you're not going to get very far, if your goal is to increase your Spanish speaking skills. And then another tip that I have for you is that if you are getting frustrated with the fact that you aren't progressing, try to figure out what is that measure that you're using to what is that measure that you're using for your progress. For me, one measure that I've used is, am I able to speak fast enough? For me, I wanted to speak as fast as possible in Spanish just for the sake of it. I didn't have a goal. I didn't tie that to anything. I just thought, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I thought that speaking Spanish really fast, even though I didn't have a level of what that is, I was just like, I just want to speak as fast as possible, like humanly possible. And that means I am very proficient in Spanish. I'm perfect, I can speak perfect in Spanish, but obviously speak perfect Spanish, but obviously that's not the case. So for me, I think I mentioned this in an older video, I was extremely frustrated with the fact that I couldn't speak fast for about 2 years. How come I can't speak faster? How come I speak so slow? You know, and the truth of the matter with that was that, I didn't have to speak that fast. Or excuse me, I didn't have to speak as fast as humanly possible, if that even is a thing. But I was actually speaking faster than I already did beforehand. So, like right now, I speak faster than I did when 2 years ago, than 2 years ago. But now, I actually have the knowledge to measure my Spanish speaking progress. Then I didn't have that. Then I was just like, okay, I don't speak fast as I want to. That means, okay, I don't speak really good. I don't know how to speak Spanish, and that was it. There was no other analysis. But now that I have it, I'm able to understand, like, yeah, I've actually made a lot of improvements. Not only do I speak faster, I'm speaking correctly. It's more accurate what I'm saying. So that's something to make sure that you look out for too. How exactly are you measuring your progress that is making you so frustrated? And then also to align those with your goals. Okay. And then another tip that I have for you to increase your Spanish speaking skills is, excuse me, I just lost it. Where is it? Oh yeah, I guess, yeah, just to continue with that last point I was making is to, align it with your goals. So my goals for, this month is to start learning more Spanish vocabulary that is related to the gym, that is related to cooking. So to do that, I actually need to speak about those things. So this is something that's very difficult because this is new vocabulary, right? This is something that I'm not used to talking about. I usually don't talk about what is the cooking process, what are the different items in the kitchen. I don't explain to people how I work out, in the gym. I usually just say, yeah, I'm working, my chest, or working my arms, but I don't actually explain the process, how to do this exercise. So in this case, what I need to do is practice adding this new vocabulary in to my everyday language. So that also goes to the other tip about speaking Spanish every day. So I'm speaking Spanish every day. I'm adding more and more phrases. I'm adding more and more words about the specific topic that I'm working on. So that right now I'm in the process of doing that. So overall, that was my overall experience of doing the 30-day Record Yourself challenge. I definitely recommend that you do it. You can do it, whichever year. Like I said, I did it 2 years ago, and I'm already seeing a lot of gains just in 2 years. So I'm able to use that as my measure, use it as a base, and then I can use this year's challenge as well. I'm able to look back at this challenge in 2024, 2025, and be like, wow, I've made that much progress. So yeah, overall, very effective challenge, and that's all I have for today. Thank you all for joining and watching. Please subscribe to the Spanish Blueprints YouTube channel, like the videos if you found value in them, share with your Spanish learning friends, and hit the notification bell so you can be updated for upcoming videos. Nos vemos.